Hello. Today I'm going to talk about things to notice and things that we need to teach to students that help them move along like the reading and writing progression. So it's something that you'll notice in a classroom where students make like lots of growth. And so these oftentimes can be called like the engines of rigor. Let's get started here so that we can talk about this together. This is something that I do. I do monthly coaching sessions with district leaders and Dr. Stephanie Brenner and I, and our book's going to be about like how to move students along the reading and writing continuum throughout a school year and how it looks from the beginning of the year until the end, things to teach into, things to consider, predictable problems that we face. So these are some things that we talk with building leaders about and make sure that they're noticing in classrooms. And these are things that we want to make sure that teachers understand that they need to teach into as well. So one of the things that you should notice in a reading and writing workshop is that time is precious. Like students know the importance of the work that they're doing in that time. There's like a value to it. It's relevant, it's real world. And so students know that to become a better reader and a better writer, they have to practice and do that work. They need to do those strategies. They take that time and that work seriously. Students and teachers study exemplars and then use those exemplars to take their writing in a new direction or their teaching in a new direction. So they'll notice the moves that an author makes in a piece, and then they'll try that out. And so teachers will notice and name and teach into like strategies, and then students should be able to notice and name and talk about strategies and how they do that in their own writing as well. An example is the other day, some students were telling me that they were showing that telling, that they were taking their stick figure writing and bringing it to life. And so I could tell that they had been studying that and they gave me examples. They had been studying that and then they were showing me where they were trying that out in their writing. And it was beautiful. Tools and tips are given in those classrooms to support independence and agency. So students are able to work independently and they're able to transfer their learning from one space, one piece to another piece, or one book to another book. They know how to do that because it's been taught to them over and over. If you have heard me talk about Megan Hargrave, taught me about the dependency cycle. And in that dependency cycle, that happens a lot of times when students are being taught. So, like in our mini lesson, or maybe our small groups, or their conferences, we're teaching them something, right? And then we send them off to go work independently. And what happens is they get stuck. And the first thing they want to do is they want to come back to us, don't they? Like if you have littles, you'll notice them like they follow you around and you're like you have the big old line of like little guys and girls who are like trying to get your help to tell them what to do. Like I'm stuck, I'm stuck. The older kids, they'll shut down, they'll stop, they'll get distracted, they'll ask to go to the bathroom, they'll do all kinds of things. But we want to break that um, dependency cycle and help support independence and agency. And so we'll teach them to use their silent teachers, things like um, tools like anchor charts, mentor texts, checklists, partnerships, those kind of things, so that they stay independent, right? During that time, so that you can do small groups, conferences, responsive teaching, one-on-one assessments, those kinds of things. And so we want to teach students how to do that. If you need some help with tools, I have a really great on-demand class on creating a toolkit and what that can look like. So feel free to reach out to me and I can guide you there. Something that you should notice in classrooms, teachers should notice this, students should notice this, administrators should notice the work changes over time. So the work should not look the same at the beginning of a unit that you're teaching as it does at the end. You should notice that there's a progression. Work should not look the same at the beginning of a quarter as it does at the end, or the beginning of a year as it does at the end. You should be able to notice changes in students as readers and writers. So you should be able to study their reading notebooks, their writing folders, their talk, and be able to see their published pieces and see how it's changing over time. So students, the feedback that they're receiving from you as a teacher and from one another should provide next steps toward big goals. So we want to help students work on goals that are big enough to draw on many strategies. So you don't want it specific. Like you could talk about like writers revise their writing by doing this, this, and this. So that might be a goal, is to be somebody who revises. Earlier, I had talked to you about like the student that was telling me that they were turning their characters they were showing, not telling. So it wouldn't be like stick. It would be, they were going to bring them to life. And so they can bring them to life by showing emotion, adding dialogue, talking inner and outer dialogue. They could do all kinds of things. And so when I say set big goals, that's what I mean. Something that's going to use like several strategies and going to take some time to become masterful at that. In classrooms where we notice big growth, we notice that student conversations improve work and understanding. So they understand the purpose of their conversation. You'll notice students using tools, giving feedback, reminding students of strategies. They'll be able to name and notice as they're looking at somebody's writing piece. Like, I noticed that you just did show, not tell. You did it right there in your piece. Have you thought about trying a different strategy? Or students supporting each other. Like if a student gets stuck on a word, remember, look at the words, slide through the sounds, reminding each other of that in ways that lift each other as readers and writers. Students give each other supportive and helpful feedback. And then students finally regularly assess themselves and decide next steps. So that can be, they can use their checklists for assessments, they can use anchor charts for assessments, they can use any tools that you've given them to assess themselves and decide what is my next step as a reader and a writer. So these are just a few tips that you can notice as you're going into classrooms or you're noticing in your students. And if you're not noticing them, you could teach into them. So I would love to hear of any other ideas that you have, and I hope you have a great day.